Chapter 1. Dressed for Dinner. Jessica Charles stared in horror at the gown she was to wear to her first dinner party on the Shrouded Isle. Hardly a gown, really, more like a slip. The thin satin fabric would cling to her breasts and show every curve. The slender straps seemed likely to fall from her shoulders, and the skirt would come only to mid-thigh. Jessica shut her eyes and took a couple of deep breaths. In her hometown, women wore trousers on casual occasions and long dresses to fashionable events. Bare legs in public were simply not acceptable. Jessica had known, when she'd been chosen as tribute to the Shrouded Isle, that sex would be expected of her, but she'd not anticipated such a public display of her body. I could refuse. The summons had included an option to refuse. Yet something about the gown fascinated her. It was the color of pearl, a shimmering iridescence that she'd never seen in fabric. Jessica felt naughty for even looking at it. She reached out to touch the slip of a dress, lying there on the bed in this strange, opulent room. The fabric was cool and sleek beneath her fingers. Slowly, Jessica stripped off her traveling clothes, a blouse and attractively pleated trousers, and pulled the smooth shimmering gown over her head. It fit as though it had been tailored for her, and the thin straps did not fall from her shoulders as readily as she'd feared. Jessica looked at herself in the huge, gilt-framed mirror that filled a quarter of one wall. She had a slim figure at 22. Her thick, dark blonde hair lay coiled at the nape of her neck in a traditional bun. The dress had come with a note that said hair to be left down, but Jessica lifted her chin and glared at the mirror with a spark in her blue eyes. I will wear my hair as I wish. It belongs to me. She'd made certain that her virginity belonged to her as well. The night before the sorcerer's liaison arrived to claim the tribute, Jessica had crept from her bedroom and thrown rocks at Andrew's window until he came out. He'd been delighted, surprised, desperate, fumbling in the dark beneath the stars. She could still feel his hands on her generous breasts, his breath hot on her throat. He'd lifted her skirts, but seemed afraid to actually touch her. She'd been surprised that she'd wanted him to, had almost grabbed his hand and forced it between her legs. Instead, he'd pressed their hips together. She'd been curious about his member, but had not seen it in the dark. She had not even had time to touch it before he buried it between her legs. His erection had pressed against her entrance, at first pleasurably, but then with increasing discomfort. Finally, there came a pinching sensation. Jessica had cried out, and so had Andrew. Then it had been over. He seemed satisfied, and she did not have the heart to tell him that she had not shared his satisfaction, that she had cried out in pain, not pleasure. Necking is better, she thought. Jessica knew plenty about necking. But at least I became a woman on my own terms, with a person I chose. No matter what Lord Azrael does to me, he cannot take what I have already given. Jessica thought of Azrael and shivered. Spider, some called him, and Kingmaker. Azrael of the Shroud, the most powerful sorcerer in the kingdoms of the Shattered Sea. To his face, they called him only my lord. Jessica knew little of the Shrouded Isle, save that it lay at the nexus of magical energy and kept peace for all who paid tribute. Insoluble political disagreements had found resolutions within these walls. Warring kings, dukes, and chieftains sat down together with Lord Azrael and somehow overcame their differences. No kingdom that received protection from the Shrouded Isle had ever been overrun, either by their neighbors or by demons or fairies. This was worth a great deal, including a yearly tribute of courtiers. No one was taken against their will, of course. A young man or woman could refuse the invitation, though few did. Courtiers served for 4 years and returned home with lavish gifts. Many yearned to be chosen,